Behind the scenes of our modern world, there are these invisible engines at work, powering the systems we really rely on every single day. One of those engines is called DocWire, and in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what it is, what it does, and most importantly, why it matters.
It's pretty much a fundamental truth these days, right? Data is the lifeblood of pretty much everything. Business, government, you name it. But here's the paradox. As an organization grows, its data grows too. And the more information you have, the harder it can be to make any of it actually work for you.
And that really is the central question we're tackling. What good is having all this data if it's just a disorganized, inaccessible mess? At that point, it's not an asset at all. It's a bottleneck.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start by defining what we mean by the universal data problem. Then we'll dive into the backend, that's where this problem usually lives, and introduce DocWire as the engine that provides a solution. And finally, we'll look at how it's been validated by the market and the investment opportunity that creates.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, the universal data problem. At its heart, this is all about the challenge that basically every modern organization is facing, this overwhelming flood of what we call unstructured data.
Now, you might think that advancements like AI would have solved this. And yeah, they've sped up tons of processes, but they haven't fixed a really foundational issue. See, AI is only as good as the data you feed it. And a lot of the time, that data is just scattered and messy. So before any of these advanced systems can even touch it, that information has to be read, understood, and prepared.
You've probably heard this phrase before. What's really interesting, though, is how long it's been around. We're talking way back in the 1960s. Engineers at IBM were already using this simple but really powerful mantra to describe this exact problem. Garbage in, garbage out. The GIGO principle is super straightforward. It doesn't matter how powerful or sophisticated your system is, if you feed it poor quality, disorganized input, you're only ever going to get worthless output. In today's AI-driven world, that's not just some old tech rule, it's a critical business problem. So this brings us very nicely into Section 2, understanding the backend. To really get a handle on this data problem, we need to look at the systems we don't normally see, that invisible infrastructure that we actually rely on every day. So what exactly is the backend? Well, most of us, when we think about software, we picture what we see on the screen, right? The buttons, the menus, the user interface. But in reality, a massive part of any critical system is running in the background, doing all the heavy lifting.
A perfect everyday example is a contactless payment. You just tap your card on the reader, that's it. That's the simple part you do. But the entire authorization and settlement process, all the communication, the verification, the confirmation, all of that happens instantly and invisibly in the backend.
And here's another great way to picture it. Think about a washing machine. You do one simple thing. You choose a wash program. The backend, which in this case is the machine's internal controller, takes over from there and autonomously manages this whole complex sequence of operations to get the job done.
And now, Section 3, DocWire, the data engine. This is where we connect all these ideas. We have this huge data problem, and we know all the real work happens in the back end. Well, DocWire is the engine that's been designed specifically to solve that data bottleneck, right inside that back-end environment. Before any data can be fed into, say, an analytics system or an AI model, it has to go on a journey. This series of steps, reading it, cleaning it up, organizing it, and transforming it, is what we call a data pipeline. You can think of it like an assembly line that turns raw material into a finished, usable product.
But here's an absolutely crucial distinction we need to make. Not all data can just be sent off to the cloud. For a lot of critical applications, the processing has to happen locally or on-premise. And this comes down to a few key things. Latency, because you need an instant reaction time. Reliability, because the system just cannot afford to go down. And of course, security, to protect sensitive data.
Just think about the stakes here. A medical device like a heart pacemaker can't wait for a signal from some server halfway across the world. It has to operate on its own and respond immediately. The same goes for an autonomous drone. For it to operate safely and effectively, it can't depend on having a constant, stable connection to an external system.
This is exactly where DocWire operates. It manages that entire data transformation process. It takes in raw, unstructured data, it transforms and enriches it, and then it produces clean, structured data as its output. And that enrichment step is key. It uses advanced language models to not just classify data, but to actually understand the context, pull out relationships, and even summarize information automatically. So don't think of it as just one part. It's more like the entire drivetrain of a car. Okay, that brings us to Section 4, building with the market.
You see, DocWire isn't just some concept on a whiteboard, it's a proven solution that is out in the real world, evolving with real-world validation.
The development of DocWire has been really methodical, broken down into phases. It started with mastering the understanding of documents. Then it expanded into processing more complex things, like images and sound, and it has a clear roadmap moving toward analyzing sensory data in the future.
Now here's a particularly smart part of their whole model. A lot of the new capabilities are actually developed in collaboration with their clients. So a client will co-finance a new feature they need, and that feature then gets integrated back into the core product. This ensures that the system is always evolving in direct response to what the market actually needs. It's a really clever approach.
And this approach, well, it has very clear results. DocWire is already being used by major organizations, including names like PwC Singapore, Clear Trail Technologies, and Taozite. So again, this isn't theoretical. This is a system with proven market validation.
It's also really important to mention that the team behind DocWire brings some serious experience to the table, specifically in large-scale data processing and critical infrastructure. You know, the exact areas where this kind of technology is most vital.
And that leads us to our final section, Section 5, the investment opportunity. This is where we bring all those previous points together to highlight why this is such a compelling space to be watching.
So, this is where the whole proposition becomes crystal clear. DocWire is sitting right at the intersection of three incredibly powerful trends: big data, AI, and that growing need for local processing. It's got a market-validated product, it has established users, and it's in that perfect spot, post-validation, but pre-scale.
And this really illustrates the bigger picture, doesn't it? It leaves us with a final, really thought-provoking question. As our systems get more intelligent and more independent, what is the future of autonomous data? How will engines like DocWire shape a world where information can quite literally process itself?